Welcome to another edition of A Word on Westerns. Hey, I'm Rob Word. I'll be your host today because it's a special edition as we honor one of our friends, Courtney Joyner, who's been coming to The Word on Westerns for 10 years now. We've been doing them that long. Courtney's been here since the beginning. And he's won a presidential award, a special award from the Western Writers of America. Plus, he's written dozens of books, and also he's Mr. Commentary Track on films ranging from hardcore Westerns to just hardcore films. So happy birthday, Court. Today we celebrate you and also your friend and mine, Steve Carver. Now, Steve and Courtney worked on a book together called Western Portraits. We even had the book launch at the Autry Museum in November of 2019. Now, COVID hit in March of 2020, and we were lucky that we got the launch happening just in time. The publishing was done. The book was marvelous, and Steve got to bask in a lot of the accolades that he received. He was the photographer. Courtney wrote all of the interviews and interviewed a lot of the stars who attended that day. We had over 30 of the people represented in the book who joined us at the Autry. It was a special day, and because it is a special day for Court, I thought we'd run the interview that I did with Steve and Courtney that day. Not long after the book came out, Steve Carver died from complications of COVID. We celebrate him, and on a happier note, we celebrate Courtney. Happy birthday, Court, and Steve, we dedicate this to you. It's Western Portraits, the unsung heroes and villains of the silver screen. The photographer who is the mastermind behind this book, Steve Carver, is here, and the man who wrote the wonderful prose, Courtney Joyner, is here as well. Two good friends. It's a beautiful book, Steve. Thank you. Who was the first actor you shot for your book?
It was R.G. Armstrong, who had been in several of my films. And R.G. understood that, one, you had to be very still, because in the olden days, the emotion of the film was very slow. His first subject, which was his choice, was a Western. So we dressed him up as a cowboy, and I built a barn inside a laboratory, which was immaculate. And we had David Carradine come, and a lot of the actors that I had worked with. And it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun doing this. And more I got the technique down, and I got better and better results. And then one day over a game of pool and a few beers, RG said, "Why not do a book?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" And I called other actors like Henry Silver and other actors that I had worked with, and the book was born.
It's terrific. It's a beautiful book, but not just the photos, which do capture Edward Curtis's look and feel, but the copy in it, the article that you wrote, Court. It's just terrific. So
thank you.
Got to go interview everybody too.
Yes.
Right?
Well, it's funny. I've known Steve for a very long time, and I dropped by his old studio in Venice, and he had just done the session with LQ and RG, and he brought those photographs out. You could just see this was sometimes like, wow, these were terrific, and they were so about the period and captured so much, of course, with these tremendous subjects. So all these years later, when Steve called me and he said, "How would you like to, would you be interested in doing this?" Because I've been doing some film journalism and things. So the way that it was done primarily as far as the interviews go, because several people had in fact passed by the time we were getting to the book stage, is either I was there for the actual photo session, and we would speak between shots and things. That's like with Bob Forster and things and then we would follow up. Or else some were done in person over lunch, and then others were done over the telephone, especially, when people were working and everybody found the time, and they're absolutely wonderful.
Well, what's great about the book, too, is that in the back of it, the index lists just the Westerns. It's a great reference tool, but looking through Denver Pile, for instance, it's page after page after page of just Westerns, and he did all kinds of other stuff too.
Well, I remember when we were doing Denver, because he had passed by the time I was going to do the essay, and I called Steve because I had done started doing the research, and I had no idea that his brother was this huge animator at Disney Studios. So that was such an interesting factoid. And so that, in fact, I think Denver was the first essay I wrote.
Yes.
And so it was such a great launching pad, because then it was also a matter of finding out about these wonderful people, and also when I would do interviews, hopefully asking the right questions.
But now both of you were able to go over to Henry Silva's after the photo shoot and to interview Henry.
I mean, his great statement to me when we came in, because he had this wonderful photograph of himself with the cast of Ocean's 11, does, "Look, I was not Joey Bishop." He wanted to make that really clear about his relationship with Frank Sinatra, so I thought that was terrific.
Nobody would ever mistake him.
Yeah, no.
So with the performers, as they would come in, would they make suggestions to you, Steve, on what they wanted to wear or look?
Those that I work with them, I knew exactly what I was going to build. But more so, it wasn't about what the set was about. It was about what type of character they wanted to play. Because in taking this picture, you have to understand that this was not an ordinary snapshot. This was and all the actors that are here can attest to this, this was an experience, because the actor had to play to the camera in a way where they were sitting for a number of seconds.
It seemed like hours.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Little bit of eye movement at the end.
LQ did 3 or 4 or 5 sessions, and when you do a lot of sessions, no 2 sessions is alike. I never really explained this, technically to people, but this photograph is layered. The film has an emulsion that's very thick because I'm using a lot of light, and it's a time exposure. So therefore, like a motion picture, 24 frames per second, you're getting lots of images on a single image or a single negative. It's called ghost photography, because if you look at the old photographs, anybody that moves is blurred, and they called it ghosts. These are anomalies, and in the anomaly is a ghost. And the Indians or the Native Americans didn't like it. And I was taking these pictures, and all of the pictures in the book are very special because they were not only the pictures of the actor, they were the pictures of your soul. And that's why these pictures are so incredible, because if you look in the eyes of the character, I'm looking into your soul.
How difficult was it for you to gather the subjects, the actors and actresses for the book?
Well, it depends on the person. I called many actors, and some actors said no. In the beginning, they said no because the title was The Dying Breed.
Whoa! Well, I'm glad you changed.
We changed it very quickly.
Yeah, well, that had slowed down the acceptance of it.
Yes, we had a lot of people say no.
Yeah.
But, you're in a book that I think has some value. It'll be in libraries.
It is a truly wonderful book because the selection that you have of the people are, a lot of them, it's in-depth that Court did, but people don't know about these great character actors, and you've given them a platform, a legacy that's yours too.
Well, earlier you had mentioned like Louis Nye, for example. It's like, wow, what is he doing in this movie? Well, he was in the terrific modern-day Western, The Wheeler Dealers, and which just set the bar really for comedic performances in that arena. And then, like with Buddy Hackett, not only the rifleman, he did the Big Valley and a lot of it, but was a huge collector of antique firearms. So
I bet he was slow on the draw, though.
yes, but Steve knew, of course, told me about the firearms collection, and then I went into more detail there. So everybody had a different thread. Fred Dreyer, for example, had never appeared in a Western, but when I sat down with him, what he wanted to talk about was being raised in, if you will, a kind of a moral area where everything was patterned after the Lone Ranger and Hopalong Cassidy and all, and this were for him his role models.
Well, and then with Hunter, the last couple of seasons, it did change a little bit, and it seemed that he was making it as a modern Western. Of course, that
was very deliberate. So then his inclusion, was a lot more comfortable. And I wanted to say one thing: the great spirit hanging over this book is actually L.Q. Jones, for one very specific reason. You introduced me to him. So that was that move so many years ago. And
See what you did?
yes. And so I thank you very much.
everybody came together because of the book, Steve, and we've been talking about it for years. I'm so glad that we were able to do it here at the Autry, and such a wonderful turnout of love for you and Court, and the book is just wonderful. So thank you.
And Rob, you made a massive contribution to this. So
thank you.